I always say that I never sang any style of music that I hadn't heard in my household growing up. I can't approach it with any kind of authenticity.
Picture this. Los Angeles, 1979. A promoter's office, a shaken assistant, and a story that Linda Ronstadt has just stormed out of the Troubadour. Why? Because a single name on a performance list enraged her. That's the story anyway. It's a tale that's gone viral in countless videos and articles, claiming that after decades of quiet dignity, Linda Ronstadt is finally naming the 7 musicians she secretly despised. It's a shocking narrative full of backstage betrayals and bitter feuds. But is any of it true? For a career defined by professionalism and genre-spanning collaborations, this narrative of score settling seems out of character. The truth about Linda Ronstadt's relationships with these so-called rivals is far more complex and fascinating than any fictional feud. So let's separate the myth from the music. The legend claims that after Linda gave Don Henley his first big break as her drummer, he turned on her. The story goes that at the height of the Eagles' fame in 1975, he arrogantly told her to stick to covers, a comment so insulting she kicked him off her tour. The reality: 'twas Linda Ronstadt's sharp eye for talent that helped bring the Eagles into existence. In 1971, she and her manager hired Glenn Frey and Don Henley for her backing band. It was on tour with her that they decided to form their own group. Ronstadt didn't just give them a platform. She actively encouraged their ambition, suggesting other members and supporting their decision to leave and form the Eagles far from a bitter rivalry. Their careers remained intertwined. Ronstadt later recorded a stunning version of the Henley-Frey ballad Desperado, which became one of her signature songs and revitalized interest in the original. The story isn't one of betrayal, but of a pivotal figure whose instincts helped launch one of rock's biggest bands. The viral myth paints a picture of public humiliation, where a drunken Jim Morrison pulled Linda on stage in 1968. Not to sing, but to use her as a prop, lunging at her in a chaotic spectacle. He later supposedly dismissed her as sweet but spineless. The real story, according to Ronstadt herself, is less about a personal feud and more about her insightful critique of a troubled artist. She did tours with the Doors and found Morrison's onstage behavior deeply unsettling. In multiple interviews, she has described Morrison as magnetic but troubled, noting that his heavy drinking made him unpredictable and frightening. She felt the dynamic between Morrison and his audience was an unhealthy, narcissistic feeding frenzy. Her sharpest take was always on the music. Ronstadt consistently said she thought the Doors were a fabulous and fantastic band, but that they would have been even better with a different singer. Her issue wasn't a personal grudge. It was a profound disagreement with his self-destructive artistry. The fabricated feud claims. Neil Young publicly belittled Ronstadt at a 1976 benefit concert, calling her to commercial and stating she wasn't built for protest. The truth is, their relationship was one of deep, mutual, and career-long musical respect. Ronstadt sang backup on Young's only one single, Heart of Gold. She opened for his Time Fades Away tour in 1973, an experience she called hell, only because the massive arena crowds were so impatient to see Young. But she stayed every night to watch his 2-hour show because she learned so much. Their collaborations spanned decades, with Ronstadt lending her voice to numerous Young albums, including Harvest, American Stars, N-Bars, and Harvest Moon. She recalled singing with him on Heart of Gold as a magical all-night session, stating, "I love Neil's music. I think he's just brilliant." This was not a feud, but a rich artistic partnership in another completely fabricated studio encounter. Frank Zappa allegedly sneered at Linda. "This is what happens when you hand real music to a pop singer, humiliating her into walking out." This story couldn't be further from their actual, albeit brief, collaboration. In 1967, young Linda Ronstadt was hired to sing on a radio jingle for Remington electric razors that Zappa had composed. The quirky ad features Ronstadt's powerful, multi-tracked vocals claiming the razor cleans you, thrills you, may even keep you from getting busted. While the ad agency didn't end up using the demo, it remains a fascinating and funny footnote in the careers of two wildly different California artists. There's no evidence of any feud, only a professional, paid collaboration. The tale of betrayal alleges that after a screaming match in the studio, David Crosby publicly dismissed Ronstadt's career as studio manufactured in a Rolling Stone interview, causing her to erase him from her life. While Crosby's life was famously tumultuous, his and Ronstadt's careers were deeply intertwined within the Laurel Canyon scene. They were friends and collaborators who frequented the same clubs and shared the same musical community. Both have been featured in documentaries about the era, reflecting on it as a time of immense creativity and community. While the pressures of fame and addiction strained many relationships in that scene, there is no credible record of this specific explosive feud. Instead, they are remembered as two of the central figures who defined that iconic sound and era. The story goes that Elvis Costello, the angry young man of New Wave, publicly mocked Linda's music as background music for brunch and hurled insults at her backstage in 1979, while Costello's acerbic wit was legendary. The idea of a one-sided feud is a dramatic exaggeration. Ronstadt was actually an early and influential champion of his work. In a bold move, she covered his song Allison for her 1978 album Living in the USA, introducing his songwriting to a massive new audience. She went on to record 3 more of his songs on her album, Mad Love. Costello later admitted he was ungracious about other artists covering his work early on. But he also famously joked, "I didn't mind spending the money that she earned me." Choosing to record 4 of a songwriter's tracks is an act of immense musical respect, not the basis of a bitter feud. The final fabricated story claims in 1982, duet between Linda and Paul Simon collapsed because he was a condescending controller who nitpicked her performance until she walked out, vowing never to work with him again. This is pure fiction. In reality, their collaboration was a success. The two recorded the beautiful duet Under African Skies for Simon's landmark 1986 album, Graceland. The lyrics were deeply personal to Ronstadt. Simon even incorporated a visual from her Tucson childhood, the San Xavier mission, after asking her for input. They performed the song together on Saturday Night Live. In 1986, the result was a celebrated track on one of the most acclaimed albums of the era, a testament to their successful artistic partnership, not a failed one. The narrative of Linda, Ronstadt versus the world, is a compelling one, but it's a story built on fiction. The truth reveals something far more in line with her legacy. She wasn't a silent victim of male egos. She was a musical force who often acted as a collaborator, a mentor, and a champion for the very artists she supposedly hated. She gave the eagles their wings. She celebrated the songwriting of Elvis Costello and Paul Simon. And she shared decades of mutual respect with Neil Young. Her documented critiques, like those of Jim Morrison, were about artistry, not personal animosity. In an industry that loves a good feud, Linda Ronstadt's career stands as a testament to something else: professionalism, collaboration, and an unwavering focus on the music. The real story isn't about who she hated. It's about the incredible music she helped create and the artists she lifted up along the way.